Hi. Hi guys, my name is Sivu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And actually, I wanted to share something that happened to me this morning. So I was driving down Simmons Street going to work when a taxi actually overtook me. Out of nowhere, it appeared, Isiaya, and actually just stopped in front of me. So the first thing I wanted to do was actually get out of the car and give this guy a piece of my mind. It's traffic hour, you go into my lane, I'm pretty angry. Then I remembered, I was having a conversation yesterday with my buddy Ricardo, and he told me that you can't control situations, but you can control how you respond to situations. I wanted to argue and say, what do you mean? So he taught me this thing of actually called the pause button, where he says you are in control of how you respond to situations and which emotions you want to display in that situation. So I thought, okay, let me apply this pause button in today's event where a taxi driver overtook me. So the first thing that he told me about pause, it's that it's got certain steps, and I want to actually introduce you to these certain steps because it actually worked for me. So take a look. So remember, I said the taxi driver overtook me. I was angry, I was annoyed, and I was pretty much late. So what Ricardo said, actually, P for pause stands for literally that, pause. Take time out before reacting. Actually start breathing from 1 to 10. So it works like this. So you go in, again. So to us, it might look silly, but it's actually a good technique. What this was teaching me is that in our natural state, we normally have three elements of how we respond to situations. We either flee, fight, or freeze. And remember, I said the first initial instinct was to get out of the car and give the taxi driver a piece of my mind. But by breathing in and out, I was able to calm myself and actually evaluate what I was feeling, which goes to the second step, which is actually acknowledge. Acknowledge what you are feeling, acknowledge the emotion. That helps you. Remember, I said this is a technique to help us to choose our responses, to choose how we're actually going to respond to situations. So by acknowledging the emotion, I'm able to know how am I feeling. And I was upset. Did I want to get out of the car? Yes. But I was able to see if I get out of the car and I go to a taxi driver, I don't know what he has in his car. I don't know how he's going to react. He could be bigger than me. He could overpower me. But by acknowledging that I'm feeling upset, I was able to actually calm down. Then the second one he taught me was understand. This is the tricky part. He told me that actually understand the emotion, understand why you're feeling like this. This meant I had to go dig deeper into my iceberg of why am I feeling upset. And I realized something. I was upset because A, I woke up late. I got myself stuck in traffic. I've been working in Johannesburg for the longest of time, and I know that by 8 o'clock, traffic is a mess. So if I had woken up early and left my house at around 6:30, I would have actually avoided taxi drivers overtaking me, and I would have had a nice day. So by understanding the emotion, I was able to choose a different response, which leads me to the second one. Select. Very important when you're pausing. Selecting is actually you choose how to respond. We all have the power of choice, and this is what they don't tell us. They don't tell us in high school, they don't tell us in church, they don't tell us in society. You have the power of choice. You decide how you're going to respond to the situation. So I went back and I reflected in the conversation I had with Ricardo. Then I realized, yes, the feeling or the emotion was that I was upset. It wasn't about the taxi driver anymore. I was upset with myself for waking up early, for getting myself into the situation. Then I realized by selecting a response, you choose the positive outcome. You can actually choose to be upset the whole day, and that could mess up maybe your whole day with other things. Or you could choose that actually these things happen in Johannesburg, and taxi drivers are always gonna do this. They have their own set of rules. How do I work around this? And that is managing my emotion. So I selected to actually say, you know what? I saw someone coming out of that taxi. The reason the taxi driver overtook me was to actually stop for someone so that they could be on time. So yes, I was inconvenienced, but someone else was on time, but I was able to get to work on time. But what I selected was to say, I choose to stay in my car. I choose to actually hold it in and say, you know what, these things happen when I'm late. And I chose a different response. And that was actually, I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm going to continue with my day and it won't upset me. This leads me to the last part, which is engage. Engaging is about actually, after you've made the choice of response or deciding how you're going to react to it, you have to actually start to implement. And that's where the power of choice is. So whatever you've chosen, you have to implement. And that's where the E for engage is, delivering on the choice that you made. By doing that, going back to my scenario this morning, I didn't actually react. I had a creative response. And that was, I let the taxi driver cut me in. I was patient. When he was done, he moved along. It literally was like a split second. Then I was able to get to work on time. I didn't feel upset and I started my day on a good note. And hence, my tip for the day is by choosing the pause button, you are able to choose how to respond to situations instead of actually applying your reactive state. So you are able also, what this taught me is that you are able to create better relationships because people will upset you. Situations are always there. And I know, guys, you're probably thinking of how hectic Cock Lab is. Yes, Cock Lab is hectic, but you decide which response you're going to give it. Could it be A, that it's hard and it's showing me new things to learn, and I could learn from that? So I always say, before you react, go back to what I've taught you, pause. And I always said, what I realized by that, when I pause, I am able to change an upset and convert it into a setup. Do you get it? Change an upset into a setup and have a better productive day and also display a positive attitude. Good luck. Don't forget to pause.